We all know why Apple is the tech giant it is today. There are many reasons for that, but one of the main reasons is security and privacy.
Privacy.
Data protection, advanced data protection.
But how true is that? Because there is no company that is immune to data breaches, and Apple is no exception. And we don't need to launch an investigation, because if we just get on the internet, we can see that Apple has had data breaches where personal data of users has been leaked, and even glitches that allowed users to spy on other users. And there are many more things that, if you get into, make Apple's security feel less reliable. Now, does that mean that Apple is not safe, not reliable? Well, yes and no. Just hear me out. There have been data breaches, and there have been people that have been hacked from Apple devices, and there will always be people that will get hacked, because you have to understand, the operating system that Apple uses is the iOS. It's a complex system, and it happens to every big tech company. And when I say every big tech company, I mean everyone. Everyone gets hacked sooner or later. And the more complex something is, the more likely it is that there will be vulnerabilities within the system. That's why all of these data breaches happen. In fact, I would be comfortable saying that Apple devices are safer than any other device with the same capabilities. But now that we have established that Apple is not as safe as people might think, why do people trust Apple so much, and why do they keep buying from Apple, even though Apple prices are not the best? Let's just leave it at that. And the main reason for that is the brand name, of course, that much is obvious, that's the first, but there are a lot of reasons why Apple has this good of a reputation. And I hate to admit this, but it's not because Apple is good. The only reason why Apple is this great is because other companies are actually quite bad. I mean, let's take Google as an example. When it comes to apps that they allow to get into the Play Store, their methods lack compared to Apple. They are not bad by any stretch of the word, and they keep improving their methods every time, but Apple's methods are better. So when it comes to the apps that get into the Play Store and App Store, the apps on the App Store have been more thoroughly verified. At least that is what most people claim. But we can make the argument that just because Apple is safer, that doesn't make Google bad. It just makes Google seem incapable. But that is not the truth. I mean, it makes Google seem incapable, that much is clear, but security threats aside, it is even worse for Google. When we see how much money it makes from ads, it just puts things into perspective when we think about what the priorities are for these companies. Google collects as much data as it can so it can give us relevant ads, and Apple not as much. So people trust iOS more than they do Android, and it doesn't help that the other companies have been sent to court because of the concerns about the data collection practices, and Apple did not have the same problem as the other companies, at least not to the same degree. So is Apple safer, more private and better? Not really. People keep forgetting that companies are formed to make money, and shareholders buy shares on hopes that they go up in price. So the only thing that Apple is concerned about is money. It needs to make its shareholders happy, and they will always do whatever makes more money for them. So the privacy and security things that they keep talking about are just things that they tell us to make us trust them, so we keep buying from them. And it is true that if they store our data right now, they would make more money. But the only reason why they don't do that is because if they did that, then we wouldn't trust them and we wouldn't buy things from them in the future. So in the long run, they would actually lose money. The only reason why they do what they are doing is because it is profitable for them, and they will never fail to do that. As a consumer, you should never forget that the company can never be your friend. It never has your best interest in mind. The only reason why Apple is the way we want it to be is because their interests right now align with ours. And right now people want privacy, and Apple is the company that is offering it in the best way possible for now. But enough with the data breaches and the privacy Apple offers, because it's not just that. Apple makes really high quality products that perform well, and we can't take that away from Apple. It has built a reputation because it worked hard. That much is true. And what are the next steps Apple is going to take? Apple has this ecosystem and builds everything around that. And to make the devices more compatible with each other, so the ecosystem feels more in sync, Apple is doing everything on its own. I mean, Apple is already doing chips for their phones and has the OS for their devices, but until a couple of years ago, it used to take CPUs for their laptops from Intel. Now they are even making their own CPUs, and there are still some components that Apple doesn't make themselves, like the screen, and I think that will be one of the next steps Apple will take. They will start making their own screens. It might take some time, but they will do it. There's no question about it. Because they sell so many units of phones and laptops, it would make sense for them to develop the technology just for their products, even if they never get around to selling their screens for other companies. Like I said, they make almost everything about their devices, and doing everything on your own means that you have that much more control over the things that you do. And Apple is notorious when it comes to making their products the way they want them to be, and they don't allow third-party companies to make make products for them, not even replacement products. And even when they allow third-party companies to fix their products, they make it in a way that honestly it's just not worth it. And you can see where their head is at right now. They talk so much about being eco-friendly, you know, not including the charger with the phone, but when it comes to repairability, well, now that their own pockets start hurting, all of a sudden the environment isn't as important. You can't fix your iPhone wherever you want with whatever parts you want. And Apple has some points why they do the things the way they do it, but honestly speaking, we all know why they do it. But to their credit, because they have so much more control over everything that they do, their ecosystem is better. And since we are talking about the ecosystem, let's take a step back and talk about the Vision Pro, which if we take a look on paper, it did not do well. It failed, which is common. Companies try out new things, develop new technologies, and sometimes they succeed and make trillions, sometimes they fail and lose billions, but the plan is to make a few trillions, and that's why they waste their own time and money. But in my opinion, the Vision Pro is not a failure. It is true that Apple lost money because the development cost a lot of money to Apple, and it is true that it didn't sell as many units as initially predicted, but the actual product is really good. There are three main reasons why it failed. First being that it is not practical in most scenarios. You probably wouldn't want to carry this thing if you are out on a walk, or if you are at work, your boss probably wouldn't appreciate you having that thing on. Second, even though Apple has done everything it can do with it, the technology is still not there yet. I mean, the battery life could be a bit longer, and there aren't a lot of apps developed for that system. And the third being the price. We all know that things from Apple don't come cheap, but really, like, are you serious? And I know it's a first-gen product, so it is bound to be expensive and not perfect, but really, Apple? Anyway, if it has all of these flaws, why do I still say that it is a success? Because all of the problems will be solved with time. The first problem, well, let's just say that VR has a good chance to be the future, so people wearing glasses like that might become the new standard, and in time they will become lighter and smaller and easier to use, like everything in technology gets to be over time. The second problem, the tech limitations, well, the same thing that has happened to phones will happen here. The VR headset will become more and more efficient over time as technology improves, and the things that are a problem right now will be a funny thing that we used to deal with, just like the battery life of phones. It used to be terrible, but over time, now, if you have a fully charged phone in the morning, we don't even think about it running out of battery. And apps will get developed as more people start using the device, because companies will want to make money, just like they do in phones. At the start, the App Store wasn't full of apps, but the rest is history. And now the price. Well, we know that the first-gen product is expensive because there aren't as many people buying the product, and the development costs money. So once you get over that initial phase, once the manufacturing becomes a lot cheaper, then the companies will start to sell their products for a lot cheaper as well. You never know, in the future the Vision Pro 8 might be cheaper than the latest iPhone Pro Max. What I am trying to say is that in a couple of more years the Vision Pro and the other VR headsets might be the new thing, the new smartphone. Maybe in a couple of years everyone will start using the Apple Vision Pro, and the iPhone will be similar to the Nokia 3000. It will be that old and that unusable compared to whatever the new technology is, and when that happens, Apple will be ready. They will have the technology to make the best VR headset there is, and maybe the Vision Pro might not be the next big thing, but something will change and the smartphone won't be the main product forever. Maybe the Apple Vision Pro will be what the smartphone is right now. Maybe they will start inserting chips into our brains, or maybe they will happen one after the other. Just thinking about it is a bit scary and also exciting. But more importantly, what do you think Apple is going to do next? Is it going to keep investing in the Vision Pro? Is it going to leave it all together? Is it going to try out new products? If yes, what products do you think they will try out? And what is the next big thing that will change our life? What do you think about these topics? I would love to hear about that, and don't forget to leave a like in the video, it helps a lot, and see you next time.